All right. Bismillah. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ba'd. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. I think some of you were here last time and I see new faces, so welcome. Last time we covered a few concepts and then we did the first name, which was Allah. Today, before we took another name to study, I wanted to go back and talk about a few more concepts that I felt we might not have gone over in detail last time. So to begin with, this is something I wanted to share last time too, just to give you an idea of where all this information is coming from. I don't like to just use one book or just one manhaj or just one school of thought. So I use Imam Ghazali's book and Sheikh Muhammad's book mainly, and then also Sheikh Abdul Razak's book, and obviously if there are any hadiths that are coming into the presentation, I've taken them from Fath al-Bari, and then the tafsir I use Ma'rifat al-Quran, which is by Sheikh Muhammad Shafi Usmani. So moving on, many of you might remember the slide from last time. We broke down Allah's names and we said that 68 are mentioned in the Quran and that 31 are found in the Hadith, and that brings us to a total of 99. I wanted to talk a little bit about the 68 names that we know are revealed in the Quran. Alright, so what I wanted to discuss was, do you think that these names do they appear as we see them, or have they been derived from ayahs, from different verses of the Quran? What do you guys think? So they have been derived, and some of them are present, like As-Sami, Al-Hayy, Al-Qadir. Some of them are present as they are, and some of them have been derived. So I would like to give you two examples. So for example, in Surah Al-Yunus, ayat 3, it says, "Surely your Lord is Allah, who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days and established himself on the throne, governing all affairs of the universe. None may intercede with him except after obtaining his leave. Such is Allah, your Lord. Do therefore serve him. Will you not take heed?" The verb that I wanted all of us to take a look at is the word yudabbir. Okay? So yudabbir is actually a verb, and from that, the ulama have derived the name al-mudabbir. So al-mudabbir does not appear by itself in the Quran, but we know that's one of his names. And it's like, okay, al-arshul al-arsh yudabbir fahuwa mudabbir. So he is al-mudabbir. So this is one example. This name is conveyed from the verb yudabbir, meaning to arrange, to dispose, to arrange his affairs. That's what yudabbir means. Another example is in Surah Al-Kahf, ayah 45, "And give them a parable of this worldly life. It is like the plants of the earth, thriving when sustained by the earth, we send down from the sky. Then they soon turn into shape scattered by the wind. And Allah is fully capable of doing all things." Would anybody like to look at the Arabic verse and find the verb that I'm trying to draw attention to? It's actually not a verb, it's a noun. Yes. So it's muqtadirin. Okay? So the name is conveyed from the noun muqtadir, meaning perfect in ability, to do, to arrange. And that's why we say that he is al-muqtadir. Okay, so these are just two examples. Just wanted to bring this in our discussion, that not all names just appear like that in ayahs in the Quran. They are derived. Okay, and again, these are just two examples. There are so many more like these. Moving forward, we also had this discussion, right? Does Allah just have 99 names? And we all agreed that no, we know that Allah has more names. We spoke about the Masnoon Dua also, that speaks about names that Allah has in His knowledge that He has not revealed to us. The point I wanted to make was, why say 99? Why do you think Allah has spoken about 99? Could have been any number. So most of the ulama agree that the hadith does not intend to restrict the numbers of the names like we spoke about. the point was to restrict, was not to, sorry, this is a typo. The point was not to restrict number, but to bring attention to the reward of knowing Allah's names. That was the point. And this, I think we spoke about last time, that 99 is it's a large number, right? And we also spoke about how the 100th number changes the unit when we go into three places, like the three-place unit system. However, and then there was a question that I think a brother asked that if there's a discussion that the name Allah, it's part of the 99 names or it's not. And then there was a question that if it's 99th plus 1, then what is that name that hasn't been included in the list? Do you remember? Okay, so we had this discussion last time.
I don't think we answered the question. I think you just said it, so one of them is split up. I don't think you
Yeah, I said that it's split up. So what I meant was that, and I also went back and looked at it again, the hadith of 99 names that we find, it's not meant to be exhaustive. Okay, even the famous hadith that we see for Imam Tirmidhi, the one that lists all the names, he himself brings like 3 different narrations, and the names do not all match. For example, if you go online and if you search up 99 names of Allah, the one that I was looking at, it didn't have Al-Mudabbir, but we know that Al-Mudabbir is one of his names, right? So the names, there's not any one exhaustive list. You'll find different variations, and like I said, Imam Tirmidhi himself brought 3 different narrations. So in that, now do you understand what I'm saying? Like in it all of itself, there could be a list that could have Allah as part of those 99 names, or there could be a list that it wouldn't have and you'd count it as a 100th name. Okay? So these were just a few things I wanted to go back and touch upon. And I'm sorry, the ones who are new to the class, they might be like, what is she talking about? But this is just like some stuff we were talking about last time. So today we're going to talk about Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. Okay? We're going to do both of these names together because that makes the most sense, because the root is the same for both words, which is Rahma. Okay? So just like we did for Allah's name, we're going to talk about the literal meaning, and then we're going to talk about the Shari'i meaning, okay? So literally, Rahma means riqqa, which is tenderness, or ta'attuf, which means sympathy, okay? So just by thinking about it, like Allah feels tenderness towards me, or Allah feels, sympathy towards me. I don't know, that just the concept itself makes you feel like, wow. It's like, I don't know, it's just like, Rahma, yeah, but when you actually break it down like that, I just felt like, oh my goodness, like I just feel so special now. Also, most of the Nahween, the grammarians, they believe that the word Ar-Rahman comes from the Arabic language, but there are grammarians who feel that it was part of the Hebrew language. So did the kuffar know, or were they aware of the word or the name Ar-Rahman? So actually they were. During the day of Hudaybiyah, when they made that treaty, Rasulullah ﷺ said, write the treaty and say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim on the top. So they said, we don't know who Ar-Rahman is, and we're just going to write. Does anybody remember from last time? What was something that they used to say? We spoke about it last time. Bismika Allahumma, which is also there. Thank you, Miguel. So Bismika Allahumma, he said, no, I'm not going to write Ar-Rahman. I don't know who this Ar-Rahman is. I'm going to write Bismika Allahumma. But there are a lot of ulama, Ibn Jarir being one of them, who say that this was just out of arrogance. From the pre-Islamic era, there's actually a lot of proof that shows that they were aware that there is one God, among, they had many different, idols, but they were aware that there is one God and his name is Ar-Rahman. And it also appears in their poetry. The Arab were very fond of nusus and of poetry and kalam and all these things. So if you look at those, Sheikh Muhammad brings it in his book, that he's actually taken out pieces from their poetry, and it clearly like talks about Ar-Rahman. So they were aware, but it was just out of their arrogance and their, heedlessness that they didn't want to accept who Ar-Rahman is. So in the Quran, Ar-Rahman is mentioned 57 times, and Ar-Rahim is mentioned 109 times. However, Ar-Rahman is just mentioned in terms of it's always referred to Allah. And I think some of you might be aware of this hadith that you cannot name anybody Rahman. You can name people Rahim, but you can't name someone Ar-Rahman. You can't name someone Rahman. You can name them Abdur Rahman, but nobody can have, like Rahman is like a khasa name, it's like a special name specific just for Allah. So in the Quran itself, the word Ar-Rahman, when it comes in the Quran, it is only referring to Allah Himself. However, when you talk about Rahim, it is mentioned 109 times, but not all of the times is it attributed towards Allah. For example, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has also been mentioned as Rahimun Alaykum, right? He is Rahim on his ummah, he is Rahim on his companions. So Rahim is something that you can use to describe mankind, but Rahman is something that you would only use to describe Allah. Do you have a question?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes. I thought you were raising your hand. So I just brought 2 ayahs from Surah Al-Baqarah. Again, these are just 2 from Surah Al-Baqarah itself, but there's so many examples. And this one says, Ilahakum ilahun wahid, la ilaha illahu ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, innahu at-tawwab ar-Rahim. So this one is for Rahman, this one is for Rahim. So Sharai meaning, it's a superlative form of the word Rahma. You know how we say, like pretty, prettiest, right? Ugly, ugliest. So the superlative form of mercy, of Rahim, is Rahma. And Rahman is Ashad al-Mubaligha, which means that the word Rahman, in terms of being superlative, the intensity is more or higher than the word Rahim. Okay? So how are the 2 names different in meaning? Because it seems like they both have the same root, right? It's Rahma, it's from mercy. But actually, they have different meanings, okay? And one of the meanings we just spoke about was that one of them is just ascribed to Allah Himself, and the other one can actually also be used to describe mankind, right? So that's one of the differences. But besides that, there are different views on how Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim are different, okay? So Ar-Rahman, there's one view that says that Ar-Rahman is used for the entire mankind. So Ar-Rahman alal arsh al-istawa, the most compassionate who is established on the throne. So He's Ar-Rahman for the entire mankind, right? And Ar-Rahim is for the mu'mineen alone. That's a khas, like it's a special kind of mercy that only the mu'mineen, only the believers get. وَكَانَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَحِيمًا. This is one view, but there's a problem with this view. The problem is that there's an ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah that says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ بِالنَّاسِ لَرَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. So if we were to take this opinion, then this would be slightly problematic, and you wouldn't be able to do, you wouldn't be able to bring both views together, because this is an-nas, which is mankind, and Rahim has been used in the same ayah, right? So it seems that the second opinion is actually, it makes a little bit more sense, and that is Ar-Rahman is a sifa dhatiyah, okay? It's for the dhat, it's for Him Himself, it's pertaining to Himself. It's almost like it's a noun, okay? And then Ar-Rahim is a sifa fi'liyah. So that's the sifa that is the action word. That's the verb that's attached to Him. So He is merciful in and of Himself. He's Ar-Rahman. And He is merciful to His creation. right? So for example, if there were, for example, imagine that there was no creation on earth. There was no one. It was just Ar-Rahman, right? There was just Allah. Would he still be Ar-Rahman? Because he's Ar-Rahman, right? If there's no creation, then he might not be Ar-Rahim to anything, but he would still be Ar-Rahman. You understand what I'm saying? So there has to be a creation for him to do the verb on. Okay, that is why the ulama have divided it and said that Ar-Rahman is sifa dhatiya and Rahim is sifa fa'iliya. And his names have actually, and this is like a deeper, aqidah discussion, but a lot of his names can actually be, bifurcated like that. There are different ways that you could, divide his names by his attributes, and then also, by af'al and by what goes by his dhat himself. And maybe, after we've done a few names, we can go over that list. But this is the second opinion of how there's a difference between Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. Okay, so let's break down the word Rahma. Okay, because that's essentially what Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim is all about, right? We said it's a superlative form of the word mercy, of the word Rahma. Okay, so let's talk about the breadth or the scope of Allah's Rahma. What do you think? What comes to mind when I say the breadth of Allah's Rahma, Allah's mercy? It's not like I'm not saying the breadth, I'm saying the breadth, the width, the depth, right? It's almost like infinity, right? Like you can't even, it's like you don't even know. You can't even put like a circumference around it or say, okay, this is Allah's Rahmah, right? So in Surah Al-Araf 156, Allah Ta'ala says, وَرَحْمَتِي وَسَعَتْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. My mercy encompasses everything. It's like, khalas, it's just everything. If you read the tafsir for 154, 155, it talks about, do you remember the story of Musa alayhi salam when he came down and he found he found Bani Israel? What were they doing? Yeah, when he came down from Mount Tur with the tablets, what did he find everybody doing? They went back to shirk. They were worshipping the calf. And we know the story where he got angry. He got angry with his brother Harun. He threw the tablets down. He grabbed his brother, and then the whole story we know that when he calmed himself down, then he had a conversation. So after that, he took 40. His people basically wanted to see what did Musa alayhi salam, like who did Musa alayhi salam meet? What happened at Mount Tur? So he took 40 men and he went back to Mount Tur. Okay? And when he got up there, Allah spoke with them. But they said that that's not enough for us. We want to see him too. First, they went up and they said, okay, this is not enough. We want to hear him too. When they heard him, they said, this is not enough. We want to see him too. So after that, in Ayah 155 and 154, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about how thunder and lightning and earthquake, it shook the whole mountain, and those 40 men, they died. They fell. Okay? So Musa alayhi salam, must have gotten pretty nervous at that point, that he's taken 40 people up to the mountain. He's told everybody that, okay, I'll show you what, who gave these to me, and it's like it's my responsibility. I'm taking these 40 people, and apparently they were like the who's who, like they were like all famous known personalities. So people are going to find out that they're missing, right? And what is he going to say? I took them to my God and he killed them? What's going to happen? Right? You think, just imagine the precarious situation that he must be in. So at that point, he made dua to Allah. And he said that, I know that you did not intend to, kill these people. It's only because they were just being anid. They were just being so, foolish and so arrogant that you wanted to teach them a lesson. So he asked for two things. He said, give me and my people your mercy in this life, and the next. So he asked for two things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَرَحْمَتِي وَسَعَتْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. My mercy encompasses everything. He resurrected those 40 people. Okay? Out of his mercy. Because he is Ar-Rahman. Right? But do you think he granted Musa alayhi salam the second part of the dua? Which was what?
Giving the mercy
in the next life. Why? Because the mu'mineen are a special case. The rest of the ayah says, فَسَأَكْتُبُ لِلَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ وَيُؤْمِنُونَ الزَّكَاةَ وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ بِآيَاتِنَا يُؤْمِنُونَ. This ha, in English, I shall ordain my mercy for those who are conscious of God and pray the prescribed alms, which is the zakah, who believe in our revelations. This ha, it goes back to mercy. Okay? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, my mercy, it encompasses everything. Okay, fine, I resurrected these 40 men for you, take them back. However, I'm not going to show them mercy in the hereafter, because that is just for the mu'mineen. That is just for the people who have taqwa, who remember Allah, who pay zakat, and who believe in our revelations, the Quran and the Hadith. Yeah?
Wait, but I thought you sort of debunked that opinion of Rahim meaning only exclusive to believers because of that.
But in this ayah, the ulama feel that this is one of the opinions for this particular ayah, that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that وَسَعَتْ رَحْمَتِي وَسَعَتْ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ, but the rahmah that Musa alayhi salam was asking for in this particular scenario, he's just going to write that for his mu'mineen.
Okay, and second question is, when he says that mercy encompasses everything,
Yeah.
in our minds, we're thinking everything as in everything.
Yeah.
Including if people end up dying as a non-believer, then Allah could even forgive that or pardon that. From that, what does everything mean based off of?
Based off this ayah, everything could mean whatever his wisdom allows it to be, right? So one can question that, okay, there's so many bad things that happen in the world. How is Allah merciful? That's a big question that people ask, right? So one can consider what worse could happen to these people if Allah was not merciful, right? And when you think about the bad things that happen to you and you're like, oh my God, why me? Firstly, we never say why me when good things happen to us. We never say why me when good things happen to us.
I deserve it.
I always say this to my kids. How come when Allah bestows you with blessings, you never say, why me? Why you? Who the heck are you? Why do you think you're so special that you would get something? First you got something, and then you acted like you deserved it. Then when Allah tested you, you said, why me? So how come you didn't say why me when He bestowed you? Right? Coming back to your question, do you understand what I'm trying to say?
And I'm not challenging you.
No, of course. No. And I'm, this is the place, this is a safe space, People can ask, we can talk. If there's something I don't know, I'll say I'll ask the Shaykh. So, I'm going to be pretty plain and simple about it. I don't know, this is the hadd of my knowledge. I'm going to go home and I'm going to, pick his brains. Okay, so... That's what I do. Okay, so now you know what we do on our weekend dates. Okay, so... Okay, all right. So, anyway, so did I answer your question?
I think so.
Okay, so to reiterate, mercy in itself is very much closely attached to His wisdom and His justice, right? His mercy encompasses everything. And the fact that He resurrected those men and they were able to go back down the mountain shows that He was merciful. But would it be just for them to also attain paradise in the hereafter? They didn't believe in Him, they didn't bring iman, they didn't do any of those things that Allah is asking them to do. So that rahmah is khas for us. Okay? Also, to go back to your point, that theory was for the words Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. In this ayah, it's only the word Rahman that we're talking about. It's about Rahmah, it's about mercy. Okay? Yeah.
It could also be interpreted that the mercy wasn't necessarily for those that he resurrected, but actually for Musa alayhi salam, because he would be the one that was...
Very much possible, right? Yeah, it was actually Allah's way of showing mercy for Musa alayhi salam. Because, just like, when Musa alayhi salam said, I'm not capable of speaking, like, send Harun instead of me. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, you can take him as your helper, but you'll still be the one, you still got to do it, right? So it's about, you're absolutely right, this can be another way of looking at it. It's just these infinite ways where Allah shows His mercy and we don't even realize that He's actually being, merciful toward us. So, what is the biggest mercy for mu'mineen? I know we're going to say Iman, right? What else? What is one of the bigger or biggest mercies? Sorry? Rasulullah, you said something, Uthman?
No, you said
Oh, okay. So, yes, and another big mercy is the Quran itself. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually refers to His kitab as rahmah, as mercy. So, it says, we have revealed to you the book as an explanation of all things, a guide, a mercy, and good news for those who fully submit. There's no barter system here. There's no I'll take 2 ayahs and, in turn, in exchange. No, okay? It's full submission. Kamil. You fully submit. Because that is what the book is about. It's a complete code of life. There are things in the Quran, if you feel like they're open-ended, then what do? You turn to the Hadith. And it quickly brings you around and you understand, okay, this is, even all the, different, we say, there's so many different opinions, what do we do? But if you really think about it, it's almost like, okay, these are the 4 pillars of our Sharia and you have to stay within them, If you look at it like that, it's basically a guide for you and you stay within that area. So the Quran itself is rahmah from Allah. Again, Surah Al-Furqan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about, now just to give you a background. Oh, I'm looking at the computer over there. Sorry. So in the previous verse, and I wrote this down over here, I just felt it was so beautiful. In ayah 24 and 25, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He talks about the people of Jannah. Okay? And He says, أَصْحَابُ الْجَنَّةِ يَوْمَئِذٍ خَيْرٍ مُسْتَقَرًّا وَأَحْسَنَ مَقِيلًا. Okay, He's talking about the Day of Judgment. Mustaqarran means permanent residence. Permanent. No change of address again. You don't have to go to the DMV office. You don't need to stand in line anymore. You don't need to change your ID. Permanent residence. And the beautiful thing that really caught my attention, maqila. Wa ahsanu maqila. Mim qaf ya lam. Maqila comes from the root of qaylula. You know what qaylula is? Siesta. The afternoon nap. Okay? Yes, the afternoon nap that you've never taken. So I don't know why you're sighing. But anyway, I used to when you were small, I used to be, please sleep, but you wouldn't sleep. So siesta, so there's, and I was reading this in the tafsir, that there's an opinion that the day of resurrection, the actual accountability will start around noon. And it'll go on, and by the time Ahlul Jannah, the people of Jannah, by the time they'll get to Jannah, it'll be time for a siesta. It'll be time to take a qaylula. It'll be time to take a nap. It'll be time to take rest. And so they'll go to their permanent abode and they'll take a rest. Isn't that beautiful? It's just makes you feel okay, I'm just thinking of those rough, hard days back in school and college when, we'd come back home and we'd know that our mom would have dinner ready for you and a comfortable, bed where you could take a nap. My mom, if I was studying, I for an exam and I didn't mean to go to sleep, but if I went to sleep by mistake, she'd actually start making me more comfortable, and so that I'd sleep and I'd be like, no, I have to get up and study, It just reminded me of that mercy, right? That just imagine after a long, hard day, we've read so many ahadiths about the day of resurrection. It's going to be It's going to be so long. We're going to be thirsty. We're going to be drenched in sweat. And just imagine, after that entire long journey, we're going to get to Jannah, inshallah, and then we can rest. We can take a qalula, like just nap, eat grapes, like chill, right? So also, after that ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about how the sky will rip open and the angels will bring Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's throne down. Right? And that day, al-mulku yawma idhin al-haqq al-rahman. That day is for Rahman. It's his day. It's nobody else's. It's his show. It's his day. And it will be a hard day for the disbelievers. Yawman al-kafirina asira. It's going to be really hard for the disbelievers. So just imagine, after all that, we get to go to Jannah and take a nap. So, that was another ayah which I thought was really beautiful in capturing the word Rahman. And the way that the way this ayah is al-mulku, al-mulk is like ownership, who's like, we say Malikul Mulk or Malik of a qawm, of a nation. So al-mulk, like ownership, yawma idhin al-haqq ar-rahman. Like this day is Allah's day. So I just wanted to share that. Moving forward, Allah's mercy overpowers His anger. This is another attribute of rahmah that we find out when we read different ahadith and ayahs. For example, there's a Hadith Al-Qudsi in Bukhari and Muslim. It says, the Messenger of Allah said, when Allah decreed the creation, He pledged Himself by writing in His book, which is laid down with Him, my mercy prevails over my wrath. Inna rahmati taghlibu ghadabi. Verily, my mercy overpowers my anger. Right? So what does that mean? What do you guys think that means? It overpowers His anger. Anybody? Any thoughts? Go ahead, Maria.
So, maybe it's like when he gets mad, like His mercy overtakes His anger by being like, okay, I'm mad at you, but I'm still gonna be nice to you.
Still gonna be kind to you? Yeah. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Allahu Akbar. I heard somebody was about to say something here. No? All right. So that is what it is. He's written His rahmah to overtake His anger. Does that mean that does this in any way imply that we're restricting Allah's anger? Are we saying that we are going to overtake His anger? No, it's He Himself who is saying that I have overpowered my mercy overpowers my anger. So this is Allah, ascribing His own, set of rules for Himself. So there's a hadith, again, a very beautiful one. The Messenger of Allah said, if the believer knew what was with Allah Azza wa Jal of punishment, no one would hope for paradise. Why? If you knew what was with the ghadab, the anger that Allah had with him, no one would have any hope for paradise. You would be worried about going to Jahannam, going to hellfire all the time, and you would have no time to have any kind of hope or desire to go into paradise. And if the disbeliever knew what was with Allah of His mercy, no one would despair of attaining paradise. The disbelievers would be like, oh, what's the big deal? And a lot of them, we hear a lot of people say this, right? Allah is Ghafurur Rahim, we'll do whatever we want, Allah will forgive us at the end of the day, right? So, they say that a lot, right? So, no one would despair of attaining paradise if they knew how much mercy Allah has. They would do whatever they want because they'd think Allah will forgive us. And a believer, on the other hand, if he knew of the ghadab, of the anger that Allah has, or how capable He is of punishment, then the whole time we'd just be worried about not ending up in the hellfire. Surah An'am, Ayah 54. When the believers in our revelations come to you, say, peace be upon you, your Lord has taken upon Himself to be merciful. Whoever among you commits evil ignorantly or recklessly, then repents afterwards and mends their ways, then Allah is truly all-forgiving and most merciful. So a little bit of background on this, just to give a little bit of context. There are a couple of views on why this ayah was revealed. So the Quraysh asked Abu Talib to tell Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that we don't like coming and sitting with you to listen to what you want to say because you're surrounded by poor people all the time. Talk about high maintenance. So we would love to listen to what you have to say, but we just don't know where to come and sit. So they told Abu Talib, tell Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, get rid of all those poor people. And who were these poor people? Subhanallah, Ashab as-Sufha. People who had dedicated their lives to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to understanding the Quran, writing a hadith. And the Quraysh were like, we don't want to be with these people. Tell them to get up and leave, and then we'll come and sit with you. So for whatever reasons, Umar radiallahu anh, at that time, he felt that, okay, Rasulullah, let's try it. If this is how, how you try to do just to get some buy-in, as that word that we use a lot, right? Just to make their hearts a little soft. All right, let's try it. Let's see. Let's ask. And these people, they are genuine, they're sincere, they love you, they will understand. Just ask them that, okay, when you see them, just get up and move to another side so that the Quraysh can come and sit. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not like that at all. That is not from the mizaj of our deen at all. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed ayahs that prohibited that no, you're not going to do that. Upon hearing that revelation, Umar radiallahu anh obviously felt guilty, right? It was just like how you say, you make a judgment call and then you realize that that wasn't wise. He felt guilty. And he asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to ask for mercy for him, and obviously he himself was very merciful. So one of the opinions is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at that time said, إِذَا جَاءَكُمُ الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِآيَاتِنَا فَقُلْ سَلَامٌ عَلَيْكُمْ. Don't worry, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala كَتِبَ رَبَّكُمْ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ الرَّحْمَةِ. This was his way of telling Umar radiallahu anh that you made a mistake. It's okay. If you made a mistake and you are actually, whoever among you commits evil ignorantly or recklessly, then repents afterwards and mends their ways, then Allah is truly all-forgiving, most merciful. Another opinion is that these are just the general guidelines of anyone. It's not pertaining to this incident or Umar radiallahu anh. It's for anybody who makes a mistake, out of ignorance, and then you sincerely repent. Allah is forgiving, and He forgives you. And, because He has written, He has taken upon Himself to be merciful. Those are really nice, words to hear. He's taken upon Himself. It's like, okay, how Miguel and Uthman have taken upon themselves to arrange this classroom before I come here, right? Yusuf takes it upon himself to arrange, the cameras before I get here, right? Allah has taken it upon Himself to be merciful toward the believers. Okay? Maria, you were saying something.
So in this as you're telling, he, at this time,
A Muslim? Yes, he was. He was a Muslim. But you know how we were talking about adults making mistakes yesterday? Remember? So adults make mistakes all the time, right? And it's being human. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions it in the Quran also that, man is, full of errors, right? So the important thing is repentance. The important thing is not if, making a mistake. The important thing is what you do after you've made a mistake. Okay? Moving forward. Again, another beautiful aspect of His rahmah. Allah has divided His mercy into 100 parts. Okay? There's Hadith Abu Hurairah in Bukhari and Muslim. Allah has divided mercy into 100 parts. And He retained with Him 99 parts. And sent down to the earth one part only. The part that is merciful, the part that we see here, is just one part. Just one part. Can you imagine? It's just, can't even imagine. Through this one part, creatures deal with one another with compassion. So much so that an animal lifts its hooves under its youngest lest it should get hurt. That when we see herds walking and they're small like cattle, they're not going to go over their own babies, right? They're careful about that. But the rahmah that we see, there's so much going on in the masjid. We see good deeds around us all the time. It's because of that one part of Allah's rahmah. Just imagine the 99 parts that He's retained with Himself. Just imagine what all is waiting for us when we take that qaylula, inshallah, in Jannah, and we wake up and then we have all those, we see all the rahmah, all the mercy. So you look at this picture and your heart, obviously I don't expect all of you to oogle like I will when I see this picture, but just imagine this picture belongs to one of your kids, right? Your kids, okay? Your heart is you just don't even know if it's capable of holding that love, right? There are times when they come to me and they're upset and I just want to take them back in because I'm no, you know what? No, just no. I'm going to save you. I'm going to protect you. So much love, so much love. You just don't know what to do with it. Right? Today I was hugging and kissing Maria and she's you're squeezing me, you're hurting me. I'm no, just let me, I just want to, just so much. And then you read, Allah is more merciful to us than a mother to her child. And you're oh my God, that's how, that love, that mercy that I feel for my children and my cats. And, just imagine, Allah is more merciful than a mother to her child. Do you think this woman would throw her child into the fire? So, Umar ibn al-Khattab reported, some prisoners of war were brought to the Prophet ﷺ and a nursing woman was among them. And it said that she had actually lost her child. She couldn't find her child. He had, there were so many people that she didn't know where he was. Whenever she found a child among the prisoners, she would take it to her chest and start nursing it. That's how much rahmah she was feeling. The Prophet ﷺ said, do you think this woman would throw her child into the fire, knowingly? We said, no, not if she was able to stop it. She would never do that. Prophet ﷺ said, Allah is more merciful to His servants than this mother to his child. It just makes you I don't know, shiver, up your spine, I don't know, and it's just a beautiful feeling to think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could, has so much love. And again, going back to that literal meaning of ta'attuf and, tenderness and sympathy, these are such humanistic qualities that we, when we feel toward each other. If I know when my husband talks to me with tenderness, when my kids are sympathetic when I'm sick, it just makes me feel so loved and so safe and, so happy. Just imagine Allah has all these feelings for me. Just makes you feel so special. So Allah also describes individuals as merciful. We spoke about how Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has been described as Rahim on his on the believers. Hadith Jarir bin Abdullah, La yarhamullah man la yarhamun nas. Allah's Messenger said, Allah will not be merciful to those who are not merciful to mankind. I think we've all heard this hadith a lot, right? We must remember that one part that Allah has given to us because of which we're compassionate. Let's Let's be mindful of that. Let's, as you say that, let's be, let's show some ownership. Let's take some ownership of that one part that Allah has given to us and really show compassion to other people. Because Allah is not going to be compassionate to us and merciful to us if we are not compassionate and merciful to others. Obeying Allah and His Messenger also brings you mercy. There's an ayah in Al Imran. It says, وَاتِيُوا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَرْحَمُونَ. So another way to get Allah's mercy is to obey Him and His Messenger. That is another way that the word rahmah has been used in the Quran. These are just different variations of the word rahmah. How rahama has been used in the Quran. So lastly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also calls some of His blessings His mercy. Calls them His rahmah. For example, and this is a beautiful ayah, وَإِن تُعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تُحْصُوهَا. Do you remember in the beginning we did a hadith, أَحْصَاهَا مَنْ أَحْصَاهَا دَخَلَ الْجَنَّةِ, and we spoke about what أَحْصَاهَا means. It's the same root. لَا تُحْصُوهَا. You won't be able to take account of it. You won't be able to give a number to it. Right? This means if you start counting the blessings that Allah has given you, you will not be able to take account of them. You won't be able to take stock of them. It's not like an inventory that you go in and you start like counting, like, oh, this is how many blessings we have. You'll never be able to count them. So the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has called rahmah in the Quran, in Surah Al-Araf, He talks about rain. He says that rain is rahmah, unless you are in Karachi, in Pakistan, where it soon turns into some kind of adab because all the streets start flowing and there's mad problems, no electricity. So that's a different story. But in general, rain is looked as, rahmah. Livelihood, risk. When you're seeking livelihood, when you're seeking risk, this is also rahmah from Allah. What would you do if Allah wouldn't bestow you with this naam, right? The Quran itself, we spoke about that, it's a mercy. And lastly, paradise. Jannah has also been referred to as His mercy. Okay? That is all I have for Rahman and Rahim. If there are any questions or if you guys think about this during the week and next week when you come back, if you have any more questions or thoughts or anything that you want to share about any of the ayahs that we spoke about, that'll be great. Inshallah, next week is Thanksgiving break, so I won't be here. So, you're welcome to come, but I won't be here. So no class next week, but the week after that, inshallah, I think next is, we'll do Al-Malik, inshallah. Yeah.
The recordings, are those available online?
Yeah, YouTube, I think YouTube or...
So they will be posted on YouTube, not tonight, but they should be up. Yeah.
Last class, I think, got put up fairly quickly. We don't have a group chat.
Okay, if you guys make one on WhatsApp, and then once Yusuf in the front desk posts it on YouTube, we can send those links.
Okay.
It's recorded for tonight, but I can't share it tonight.
Yeah, that's okay. I saw it last week, a day after it was uploaded on YouTube. So even if you don't do the WhatsApp group, you can just go on YouTube and, just search Allah's names or... Yeah. All right.
It's like Al-Hijrah has a channel, or?
Yeah, Al-Hijrah has a channel. All right. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika wa yasifun. Salamun alal mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair.